It had been 7 years since Ethan Cole had walked out of the small seaside town that raised him. 7 years since he last saw the cobblestone streets of Harrow's Bay, where laughter echoed through narrow alleys and dreams were traded for promises. Back then, Ethan had been nothing more than a hopeful young man with a restless heart and a storm of ambition in his veins. Now he was returning, a billionaire, a name the world whispered in awe and envy. Private jets, glass towers, and cameras that followed his every move. But as the city skyline disappeared behind him and the coastline opened its arms, the noise of his empire faded into silence. The truth was simple. Ethan Cole had everything, except peace. He had not told anyone he was coming back. Not his family, not his old friends, and certainly not her. He didn't even know why he had chosen this day, this drive, this unplanned return. Maybe it was nostalgia, maybe it was guilt, maybe it was something deeper, something he hadn't dared to name for years. As his black car rolled through the sleepy town, memories rose like ghosts. The bakery still stood at the corner, smelling of cinnamon and warmth. The sea breeze still carried laughter from the docks. Everything was the same, except for the emptiness inside him. He parked near the old cafe, the same one where he had spent countless evenings with her. Clara Bennett. The name alone was enough to make his pulse quicken. She was the girl with paint on her hands and sunlight in her smile. The girl who had taught him that love didn't need wealth to feel infinite. She believed in him before the world did. She had waited for him while he chased dreams across oceans. And when his ambition grew louder than his promises, she stopped waiting. Ethan stood outside the cafe for a long time, his reflection flickering in the window. Inside, everything seemed familiar. The worn wooden tables, the sound of the bell above the door, the same gentle hum of morning chatter. And then, as if destiny had held its breath for 7 years, he saw her. Clara. She was standing behind the counter, tying her apron, her hair slightly shorter but still as radiant as he remembered. There were faint traces of exhaustion under her eyes, but her smile, oh, that smile, still had the power to stop time. Ethan froze. His breath caught. The world, for a fleeting second, disappeared. She was there, real, laughing softly at something a customer said. The sound was so painfully familiar that it tore through him. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times. But none of his daydreams had prepared him for the ache that came with reality. He pushed the door open. The bell chimed, a soft sound, yet it felt like thunder. Clara looked up. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then she blinked, her lips parting in shock. The tray in her hands trembled slightly before she set it down. Ethan. His name left her mouth like a question, like a prayer she'd forgotten how to say. He smiled faintly. Hey, Clara. Her eyes searched his face, as if trying to reconcile the boy she'd known with the man before her. The tailored suit, the quiet confidence, the shadows behind his gaze. You came back, she whispered. I did. After all these years. After all these years. There was silence. Not an awkward one. More like a pause between two verses of a song. Ethan finally spoke, his voice low. I didn't plan to. I just needed to see this place again. Clara's lips curved into a small, bittersweet smile. Harrow's Bay has a way of calling people back, especially the ones who left too soon. Her words stung, not with anger, but truth. He nodded. You're still here. She shrugged softly. Someone had to keep the memories alive. He wanted to say so many things, that he'd thought of her every single day, that he'd carried her laughter like a compass through every boardroom and hotel suite. But words seemed too fragile for the weight of what he felt. So he just looked at her, really looked. And that's when he saw it. A small child, no more than 5 or 6, running toward her with a burst of energy. The boy had bright hazel eyes, the same color as his own. His messy brown hair curled at the ends. Mommy, the boy called, holding up a crayon drawing. Look what I made. Ethan's heart stopped. Mommy, her child, her son. He froze at what he saw. The room spun slightly as realization sank in. Clara had moved on. She had built a life, a family, without him. And yet, as he looked closer, something inside him whispered that this story was not so simple. Clara bent down, hugged her son tightly, and smiled, a soft, maternal smile Ethan had never seen before. But when she stood again and met Ethan's gaze, there was something behind her eyes. Something unspoken. Clara. His voice trembled slightly. He's your son. Yes, she said gently. His name is Noah. He tried to smile. He's beautiful. Thank you. There was another pause. The air between them thickened with emotions they couldn't name. Clara turned to her boy. Noah, sweetheart, this is an old friend. Ethan knelt down, forcing his voice steady. Hey, buddy. Noah looked at him curiously. You have the same eyes as me. Ethan's breath caught again. He looked up at Clara, who quickly looked away. The pieces began to fall into place, one by one, until the truth hit him harder than any storm. He wasn't just looking at her child. He was looking at their child. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The ocean roared outside his hotel window, echoing the chaos in his heart. How could she not have told him? How could he have not known? He had left chasing success, promising to return soon. Letters turned into emails, then silence. She had written to him. He remembered some, unopened, left unread in his old apartment when he moved into his penthouse life. What if one of those letters had told him about the baby? The guilt was unbearable. Morning came too quickly. He returned to the cafe, unsure what he was even going to say. Clara was there, arranging flowers at a corner table. When she saw him, she didn't seem surprised. I thought you might come back, she said quietly. I couldn't sleep. Neither could I. He sat down, hands clasped. You should have told me, Clara. Her eyes glistened. I tried, Ethan. I wrote to you. I called your office. I even reached out to your assistant. But you had already changed your number, your address, your life. He closed his eyes. The truth hit hard because it was true. He had been so obsessed with building an empire that he hadn't looked back once. By the time I realized you weren't coming back, she continued softly, I was already holding him in my arms. And I decided, maybe it was better that way. You had your dream. I had mine. Ethan's voice broke. And I was yours, Clara. Her eyes filled with tears. You were, Ethan. But love doesn't wait forever. There was silence again, but this time it wasn't empty. It was heavy, full of memories, regrets, and what-ifs. Then Ethan said something he hadn't planned to. I want to know him. Even if you never forgive me, I want to be part of his life. Clara looked at him for a long time, searching for sincerity. Then she nodded slowly. He deserves to know where he comes from. And so, over the next few weeks, Ethan began showing up. Quietly, patiently, he'd sit with Noah at the park, help him build sandcastles, read him stories. The boy laughed freely, unafraid, unaware of the complicated history between his parents. Clara watched from a distance at first, then began joining them. Slowly, cautiously, they rebuilt something fragile but real, a connection, a friendship, maybe even a second chance. Ethan discovered a joy he hadn't felt in years. The boardrooms and skyscrapers suddenly seemed smaller compared to the sound of Noah's laughter. And Clara, she began to see the man he had become. Not the billionaire on magazine covers, but the boy who once promised her the world under a canopy of stars. One evening, as the sun melted into the sea, Ethan and Clara stood by the water, watching Noah chase seagulls. You know, Ethan said softly, I used to think success meant never stopping. Never looking back. And now, she asked, now I think it means finding something worth stopping for. She smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. You've grown up. So have you, he said gently. And somehow, you still make this place feel like home. For a while, they said nothing. The waves spoke for them. Ethan turned to her. Clara, I can't change what I did. But I can promise you this, I won't disappear again. Not from you, not from him. Her eyes softened. Ethan, I don't know if we can ever go back. I'm not asking to go back, he said. I'm asking for a chance to move forward. The air grew quiet, tender, full of possibilities. Noah ran up to them, holding 2 seashells. Here, one for Mommy, one for Mr. Ethan. Clara smiled, taking hers. Ethan knelt, taking the other shell with trembling hands. Thank you, buddy. Noah grinned. Mommy says seashells keep secrets. Ethan smiled. Then I'll keep this one safe. As the boy ran off again, Clara looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in years, her heart didn't ache. It simply felt. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in gold and rose. And standing there, beside the woman he had lost and the son he had just found, Ethan realized something profound. Life had given him a second chance. Not to be a billionaire, but to be a man who loved, who stayed, who cherished. Weeks turned into months. Ethan spent more time in Harrow's Bay than in his city penthouse. He sponsored the cafe's expansion, not as charity, but as gratitude, for the memories it held, for the love it witnessed, for the forgiveness it gave. The town whispered stories about the billionaire who traded skyscrapers for seashells. About how the man who once had everything rediscovered what truly mattered: family, forgiveness, and the quiet beauty of ordinary days. And one crisp evening, as Christmas lights twinkled across the streets, Ethan stood outside the cafe again. Only this time, he wasn't alone. Clara stood beside him, her hand slipping gently into his. Noah was inside, decorating a tiny tree with paper stars. Ethan turned to her. "Do you ever regret it? Not telling me sooner?" She smiled softly. "No, because maybe this, right now, is when we were meant to find each other again." He looked into her eyes, the same eyes that had once seen past his pride, past his ambition, straight into his heart. And this time, he didn't look away. He leaned forward, brushed a soft kiss against her forehead, and whispered, "Thank you, for not giving up completely." Clara smiled through tears. "Thank you, for coming back." The snow began to fall, slow and quiet, wrapping the world in peace. Inside, Noah laughed, placing the final star atop the tree. Ethan and Clara stood in the doorway, watching him, two souls once broken by time, now whole again through love. And as the cafe lights glowed warm against the winter night, Ethan finally understood. The greatest wealth he could ever hold was not measured in dollars, but in heartbeats shared, in forgiveness found, and in the simple magic of coming home. Because, sometimes, when a billionaire returns unexpectedly, what he finds waiting is not the past, but the future he'd been missing all along.